Welcome and good morning. I am Terry McGuire. I'm Secretary of the Board of Trustees. I have some announcements this morning for you. For those of us that are here in this sanctuary in person, if you wish to have a joy or a concern brought forward, we have these little yellow slips of paper on the back table along the side there. Please fill one out and we'll have it read during the joys and concerns time. Our young adult group meets today after service, as does the Social Justice Coordinating Committee. Tuesday is our normal Taco Tuesday on Zoom at 7 p.m. If you need the link for that, check out the weekly announcements that come via email or call Brenda in the office. Our retreat weekend with Pacific Unitarian Universalist Church is June 7th to 9th at the Benneville Pines. If you wish to register, I believe there's still time. And the last Sunday of the month, June 30th, we're going to have a leadership celebration and potluck here in the church to honor the leaving and coming in leaders of our congregation, people who have just been elected. If you have any questions, you can ask a board member or Reverend Maggie. I'd also like to mention and give a great big gratitude, thank you, to the people who came yesterday and worked cleaning up the patio area and the little Shire area next to the shed back there. I haven't gone out and looked yet. I understand it looks much better than it did. So thank you to everyone that worked on that. That's all I have for today. Thank you. And now I'll turn it over to Reverend Maggie.
Good morning, everyone. It is so great to see you. One quick little PS announcement is that Thorne has mislaid her phone, and maybe someone picked it up that thought it might have been theirs. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'll let you guys take care of that. We open our service each Sunday with the ringing of the bell, honoring yesterday, celebrating today, and awaiting tomorrow. And with our greeting to those who are joining us on Zoom or watching this recording, we welcome you as well. We have a very special treat, a very special chalice lighter that I would like to invite to come forward now. Our own John Fisher is back with us this week. Yay. And of course, husband Bill. Big PS to Bill. Yes. Our time together in worship is intimately connected with our daily lives, and as a symbol of that connection, we light our chalice with a flame that reflects the light of our Unitarian Universalist values. And as John has lit our chalice, I invite you to please hear the words of Lisa Doge. She asks, what if? What if sometimes it's not about a light in the darkness? What if sometimes it's about sparking potential into possibility and possibility into existence? What if sometimes the flame that burns in the chalice of our faith is nothing less than the ember of hope and nothing more than love set ablaze? What if sometimes all we need to do is follow this flame, one among scores, hundreds, and thousands of steadily flickering flames across the land and among so many peoples, on the way to justice and into the land of peace? What if we dare to kindle that chalice? What if? Yeah. I invite you to stand and sing our invocation with me. We'll sing Spirit of Life, number 123, and our anthem, first in English, then in Spanish. And please remain standing after the song, and we'll read our covenant aloud together.
Move in the
The words to our covenant are printed in your order of service and will also be displayed on our screen. Let's read them together aloud. We affirm that love is the greatest purpose of this congregation. The search for truth is our constant star, and service is our prayer. We pledge our hearts, minds, and hands to challenge injustice with courage, to make choices for a healthier planet, and to live out our Unitarian Universalist values every day as beloved community. Thus do we covenant with each other and with all that is sacred in life. Please be seated as we enjoy our wisdom tale, our time for all ages, as told by our DLRE, another acronym, Director of Lifespan Religious Exploration, Robert Tidwell.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Today's story is called Honoring Fallen Soldiers. It's by Erica Hewitt, and it's based on Paul Sawyer's Remembering Well. Think of where you feel safe and at peace. What's the signal that tells you that it's okay to be at peace? For people in the United States military, there's a special signal that says you're okay and you're at peace. It's a melody called taps, and it's 24 notes long. It was composed by a general in the Civil War and his bugler. It's hard to remember how important bugle calls were in the military once upon a time. In the days before radio, bugle calls were the only way military units could communicate to groups over a very large area. In the 1860s, the end of the day was important. If there was time and peace enough to play taps, that was a signal that the camp was relatively safe. It meant that you were not under attack. It meant that there were no enemy soldiers to worry about. To a camp of soldiers, the notes of taps meant that unless you were on duty, you could close your eyes and sleep in peace. They say that the first time taps was played at a service for a fallen soldier also took place during the Civil War. In those days, the traditional military salute was, and still is, the firing of 3-round volleys of rifles. But this one time, they say, was after a long battle when finally a ceasefire had been declared and both sides had stopped to bury their dead. In one camp, as the work ended and the memorial service began to take shape, the soldiers knew that the sounding the artillery salute might be taken as a return to fighting and not as a sacred memorial. Someone had the idea of sounding a bugle, and the sound would never be taken as an aggressive act of war. Taps came to mean the same thing. It meant the safe and quiet end to the day, a time to rest, to turn the lights out, to let their eyes close, and as best as they could, to be at peace. That's what taps means. It's like a powerful prayer. We try to make our congregation a place where people can feel safe and at peace. We work outside of these walls to create a community like that too, a world where everyone feels at peace in their neighborhoods and towns. This weekend, many people in the U.S. are remembering and honoring all those who have died while serving in our military. So you might hear taps, and if you do, maybe you can stop what you're doing and think of every soldier who might have been afraid, and then let taps remind you that they are now at peace. And now, I see Brooklyn in here, none of the older kids though, so I'm gonna take our chalice and you guys can sing us out to class.
Have a great class. When I was at the district event that was held in Ventura just a few weeks ago, I saw that everyone in the congregation who was staying in the sanctuary got together and put their hands up like this and made like a bridge. And all the kids went through the tunnel to go out. I thought that was great. I don't know, we'd have to change the room around and get rid of that center aisle, but yeah, it was really great. So we might try that some Sunday. That's a little PS about that. As we continue growing and becoming stronger as a caring community, we celebrate our shared compassion for those who are in need among us. And one way that we live that out is by sharing 50% of our offerings that are not designated pledges with a local organization that shares our values. During the month of May, we share our plate with Foothill Family Shelter. For over 40 years, Foothill Family Shelter has been providing transitional housing and walk-in services such as food, diapers, hygiene products to low-income and homeless families from the cities of Upland, Ontario, here in Montclair, Rancho Cucamonga, Claremont, and Pomona. I now invite those of us who are in the sanctuary to please come forward with your generous offerings. And as we celebrate our support for the many, many, many gifts of this community, our offering will now be given and received. Oh, so beautiful. Thank you. I went somewhere, but thank you. Thank you for that. Wow, so beautiful. Sharing our joys and our sorrows is a part of what we do as community on Sunday mornings. There are some that might be coming into the chat. I've got my little chat button here somewhere. Sorry, I've got my iPad connected to our Google group, our Zoomers. So I don't see where the chat is, but Jaryus, if you would let me know if you have one in there. They continue for John's recovery. He's looking forward to having the capacity, having the capacity to walk and dance again. Yeah. Yes, I know you love dancing. That's so beautiful. Yeah. And with today being Memorial Day weekend, the day before our country pauses and thinks together the thoughts that many of us think every day when we miss those in our ancestors and also, those who have given their lives at war. We join with them today, and I invite those in the congregation who would want to come forward and light a candle on behalf of someone that you know who gave their life to the military service to our country. I'll light the first one, and you can come forward and take a candle from the basket. It doesn't necessarily have to be anyone who died in military service. If you are carrying your thoughts of someone who's no longer with us, I invite you to join their candle to the tray of light that we will create together here. Please come forward. And if anyone in our Zoom sanctuary has a name that you would like, the name of someone you would like remembered, go ahead and type it in the chat. I found how to open it on my screen. And I'll go ahead and light a candle on their behalf. Jaryus, I'm not sure if you got a picture of that for those who are on Zoom. But if you could use one of our cameras to show them. Yeah, very nice. Thank you. And if someone is so moved during the service, please don't hesitate to just come up and light another one for someone that comes to mind. You're welcome to do that. I invite you now into a time of prayer and meditation. It will be followed by some shared silence that we will break with our singing of our gentle song, Be Ours a Religion. But hear now the prayer of George Grimm Howell, who writes, Spirit of the earth, Gaia, we call on you. In your womb we are formed and reformed, shaped and reshaped, in the great cauldron of geological time, unknown and unknowable. May we, in this tender moment, whisper a word of gratitude inside our forming and transforming hearts. Father Time, teach us to love all of our layers, the deposits of bygone seas of joys and sorrows that have built up the foundations for who we are. Mother of creation, teach us to be fearless during times of upheaval and injustice. Spirit of the earth, teach us to trust in our transformation, and may our transfigured hearts be hewn into tools that give life, or works of art that inspire. And when changes come again, may we be content to let the ocean waves of time gently release us as our lives are formed and reformed and transformed again for love and justice. For we know that this life is holy. Amen and blessed be. Today's reading is titled, The Gift of Remembrance. I invite you to hear the words of VA chaplain, the Reverend Dr. George Tiger. Hear his voice. I met Scott's father a year after he was killed. It was a pilgrimage for me. I drove 1,000 miles, every moment, wondering if he'd see me as a symbol of the system that had taken his son. When he and his wife met me in their front yard, Mike and I hugged tightly for nearly an eternity. As an Army chaplain and therapist, I understand the spiritual, psychological, and physiological foundations of trauma. And I can talk for hours about how the body keeps the score, and about vagus nerve response, about the flight, fight, or freeze mechanism. I can reflect with you about the spiritual meaning of loss, grief, and suffering, and how they fit into your life, and then how they can burden the soul if they're held too tightly. I understand all this, yet not a day goes by when something doesn't bring to mind a young life now gone. Ghosts of what might have been are my everyday companions, and I will not let them go. For I fear that if I do, I will forget. I'm greeted with waves of unbidden grief when least expected, a tightness in the throat, vision that's blurred by a bit of welling tears, a little tremor in my hand. All things that remind me that I cannot and will not forget. How many children lost? How many parents grieve? These memories, these ghosts, are not necessary reminders of the futility of war and the desperate need for peace in our world. The memories which come upon me not as thoughts, but as bodily sensations, have deepened my compassion and steeled my commitment to bringing peace to this suffering world. I serve in the U.S. Army. I support the readiness of those who have and will fight the wars our civilian leaders call them to fight. And I love the people that I'm called to serve, knowing full well the dreadful reality that we will one day face again. How then can I speak of peace? This is the difficulty of a holiday like Memorial Day. Memorial Day is not to be celebrated. It is to be observed, scrutinized, and witnessed on behalf of the true witnesses of our human failure to love our neighbor as ourselves. They are ghosts now, haunting our lives with the gift of remembrance so that we will not forget their living, but even more, that the grief of remembering will create in us a yearning for peace that will always stir us to action. I recently found myself typing AFAIK in all caps into Google when it came across in a text that my son had sent me. It was my quick little sidebar to our conversation so that in order to help me understand what he'd been telling me was his best guess. AFAIK is text speak for as far as I know. I guess IYKYK. If you know, you know. But I didn't know. So we might shake our heads and bemoan the demise of grammar, or we could decide that there's something bigger here and do what we can to communicate in ways that connect us, even if that means Googling acronyms and responding with connective language. I do celebrate that this college professor son of mine wanted me to know that he trusted me to understand his message to me, that he had shared everything that he knew on the subject. The subject was a difficult one. We were following up on an earlier conversation about our extended family and how divisive politics were continuing to be problematic, closing down connections and conversations. We agreed to ignore whatever we were able to and remain curious about what mattered most to those that we loved. We agreed that my visit from this land, the land of the liberal left, that is now my home, did not need to be a stressful or frustrating tug of war when I spent time with my family in New York recently. We agreed it was up to us to offer calm alternatives and to be the peacemakers that we longed to see at the table. We knew, my son and I, that somehow, somewhere, some way, we could stay within our ethic and hold our perspective that we are a part of something bigger together, and that AFAWK, as far as we know, it matters more to us that we connect to difficult family with loving respect than it is that we prove ourselves correct. It matters more that I not cringe through my entire conversation with my father, who will be 93 in December, because he's so deeply influenced by an untold number of unsavory opinions. It matters more that I not hold my breath until I could leave the family gathering that my sister hosted so that folks could visit with me. And it matters more that I not allow the vast canyons between our lives to prevent a connection to something bigger. When times like these visits feel uneasy, as they often do in these complicated days, we all do well to be relating from that place of knowing that you are connected to your higher self, and you're connected with others at the place of their highest self. And that's what we see in them. And we are capable of being that presence of peace and that reminder that they are beautiful and that they are good people. And they're not our enemy. They're our loved ones. when we are able to see that the difficult person you're with is an important part of something bigger than both of us, we are opening the way for a new relationship that may not have been available to either of us previously. When we act from that center point where we are seen and embraced within our identity as a person of honor, a person of ethic, a person of dignity, we become a part of something so much bigger. And we offer that gift to those that we meet, those that we have loved our whole life. You become part of a collective effort of transformation where it all connects. And we are doing the work of bringing positive change to the world, offering that sense of belonging to another person can be an incredible gift to them. And sharing the awareness that we're part of something bigger is what pulls people together to form and then strengthen our community. Our community provides the center, the location, and the ability to reach up and reach out to others, because every time we show up, we change the balance of hope. Every time we fully bring who we are, we change the balance of hope. Every time we open someone's awareness that they are part of something bigger, we change the balance of hope. And that balance of hope is really our spiritual center. It's our wellspring. The balance of hope is our greatest treasure and our greatest need right now in this world. That balance of hope is the very living stream that is our life together with others in this world. It is part of something bigger, and it is the gift that we bring. There are no rivers or streams that form a self-contained system that is superior to any other. So too with our spiritual lives. Even Lake Superior is part of something bigger. It's fed by over 200 rivers and 300 streams. The water cycles of our earth are a good metaphor for our spirit of life and that balance of hope that, like water, is both part of us and something bigger than us. And as they flow in an endless process that rises from deep springs within our core and within our Mother Earth, from our cultures and from our ancestors, it flows out into the world through our experience. And we are so fortunate to be able to be in this place of knowing now that we can facilitate that flowing into the changes that the world needs right now. That is a gift of Unitarian Universalism. And that is why the world needs us so much. Like all water, the water that is nourishing and refreshing our spirit needs to keep moving to remain healthy. Spirituality is not a stagnant pond. It's living water, and it always takes on new shapes, and it always seeks new direction, and it is always a part of something bigger. Ours is a synergistic faith. It's reliant upon the contribution and the interaction and the cooperation of each and every one of us. We combine our presence and our giftedness in order to create something bigger that is all of us combined. We are greater than the sum of our parts. And while we are each an integral part of our larger UU faith, we are also called to grow our local congregation by sharing it with those we meet and those we know that would be blessed by the very things here that bless us. So why wouldn't we invite those that we love to be a part of something bigger along with us as Unitarian Universalists? I reflected on that after my visit with my dad while I was in New York. I knew I made the right choice by not talking church with him. And I knew I wasn't worried for him because I know we're both part of something bigger. I know that he carries a deep resentment that most of my siblings and I no longer identify as Catholic the way he taught us. It actually hurts him and shuts down our conversations. He won't hear me because the theology of that tradition is something he refuses to budge on. I know it would be more harmful than helpful. And sometimes we just need to honor that. There's an important aspect of our relationships with those we know who participate in other faith traditions that I'll be talking more about soon. And we will all be exploring ways that we can be more respectful of those faiths and not critical of them. We're not better than them. All supremacy is hurtful, even theological supremacy. There are faiths that we may have been harmed by, or faiths that we choose personally to turn away from. But we honor those who are there with their own life purpose. And it's so important that we don't reflect any trace of supremacy or contribute to any criticism of traditions that we're not a part of. We don't identify as Christian, so we don't make jokes about Jesus. You can hurt people doing that. So I ask myself, how can I do more to invite those in my life to come learn about this liberal faith that we love? One of the ways that I hope to be opening my conversations more toward invitation is to see myself as one who is accessible and willing to engage in an open conversation about why I believe and what I believe. To make myself available for real talk about faith. To be somebody who lives in a way that draws the curiosity out of others. Be a vestibule, a front porch to God. Just happens to be the title of a poem by John Rodell that I'm going to use as we close. His words name us that way, a front porch to God. I love front porches. Yeah. You are somebody's front porch to God. You are somebody's doorway to mercy. You are the world's threshold to kindness. You are my entrance to letting go of regret. No pressure, but your life is a gateway to peace for both strangers and friends alike. So whether you realize it or not, empathy has chosen you to turn your heart into a welcome mat for others. This is one of the purposes of your life, to let your existence become a candlelit veranda of hope for the rest of us to gather on as we hold each other close during this long, dark night where we are a part of something bigger. Amen. Let's stand and sing together our sending song. It's a short one. Maybe we'll play it through twice. Number 1057, Go Lift It Up. So good to have you here. I missed your voice. Welcome back. Welcome back. Let's read our unison benediction together. The words are on the screen and also in your order of service. As we close our time together and extinguish our chalice flame, May we let its light shine through us to strengthen us for the way ahead. May our lives serve as a light in this world that we care so much about. We'll join for refreshments and conversation after we enjoy Lily's postlude.